name is Sue Malik, and I'm chairperson of the Missoula City Government Study Commission. As many of you know, the Montana Constitution requires that every county and incorporated city in the state of Montana ask its citizens every 10 years, do you want to review your current form of government? Last June, about 64% of us who voted in the primary election in Missoula voted to form a study commission to review our current form of government. Last November, there were 30 of us on the ballot, and 7 people were elected to serve on this commission. Serving on the commission are myself, Susan Reber-Orr, Jane Lewis Rechtenwald, Bob Oakes, Sarah Van der Wettering, Pam Walzer, and Alan Alt. We have been working since last November and elected our officers in January. Went to training actually in Bozeman at the local government center, it's called, in Bozeman last November, and met people from all over the state of Montana. So there are people in Wolf Point, in Baker, in Libby, all over the state of Montana who have formed study commissions and are looking at their form of government.
For the last several months, we've been looking at the current form of Missoula's government. That is a charter form of government. The last study commission 10 years ago made recommendations, and the voters voted to adopt those recommendations.
Missoula has a charter form of government. The state requires only one thing of a charter form. It requires that there be an elected legislative body. Missoula City's charter was created in 1994 by the same process. In the Missoula's charter, we have a legislative body, which is the City Council. The City Council is made up of 6 wards, with 2 representatives for each ward. These representatives serve 4-year terms that are staggered, and the elections are in odd-numbered years. The Missoula City Council has specific powers and functions as defined in the charter. They are the policy-making body of the city. They pass ordinances and resolutions, create, combine, and/or abolish city departments. They approve the mayor's appointments and removals of department heads. The City Council approves the budget presented by the mayor, but they may also amend it. They can levy taxes and fees as allowed by state law. The Missoula City Charter assigns the mayor as the executive officer, and the mayor is elected at large by the citizens. The mayor may appoint assistants as he feels necessary to assist him in carrying out his duties. The council does not have the authority to approve the assistants to the mayor. The mayor executes all ordinances and resolutions passed by council, executes all documents on behalf of the city following approval of the council, and he's responsible for the day-to-day administration of the affairs of the city. The mayor is the presiding officer of council meetings and decides all tie votes, and if the mayor is absent, the council president serves. The mayor has veto power over any ordinance or resolution. The mayor may veto in whole or in part, but the council may override the mayor's veto by a 2/3 vote. The exciting thing about a charter form of government is that the citizens can create the kind of government that is responsive to their specific needs. They can create any form of government they wish. The only requirement is that they have an elected legislative body. Other than that, the door is wide open. And Missoula, with all of its unique personality and creativity, we can create the kind of government that meets our own needs. The different forms of local government that the Montana Constitution allows are a council mayor, where each are elected by the citizens. There could also be a council manager where the manager is hired by the council to run the city. There could be a commission. This is more like what you would have in a county government, and a commission chairman, which is also like a county government where the chairman is elected at large. There may also be a town meeting. This is only allowed for small towns of less than 2,000 population, so Missoula City does not qualify for that. And the last possible form of government is a charter, where the citizens put together their own unique form of government, the only requirement of which is to have an elected legislative body.
Missoula is the only major city in the state that still has a mayor-council form of government. The other cities have a city manager-council form of government. Those cities also have mayors. This is an organization chart of the city of Missoula, and as you can see, the citizens of Missoula are at the top. There's a dotted line to the municipal judge, who's an elected judge, the mayor, who's an elected mayor, and the city council, who are all elected. Under the mayor, in our present form of government, you have the chief administrative officer. The rest of the staff of the city reports to the chief administrative officer and then to the mayor. The city charter gives the mayor authority to hire and fire all staff and must get the council approval for department heads. So you see that the entire staff of the city reports, including the city attorney, reports through the chief administrative officer, who's currently Janet Stevens Donahue and who's retiring at the end of this month, and then to the mayor. The boards and commissions, most of the boards and commissions appointments are made by the mayor. The city council has some much fewer number of appointments to the boards and commissions, but as you can see, the staff does not report to the city council. In a city manager form of government, this line is moved over to the city council. The city council hires and fires the chief administrative officer, and the staff then reports to the chief administrative officer and then to the city council. So the citizens of Missoula have a choice among many, but one of the choices is, if we have a city manager, that will move the line from the staff of the city to the mayor to the city council. So that puts the authority for hiring and firing the staff more in the council's jurisdiction through the city manager instead of through the mayor. So that's a kind of a basic choice that citizens of Missoula will have if we look at the city manager form of government.
The last Government Study Commission also suggested or placed on the ballot a measure asking us whether we wanted to have nonpartisan elections. We voted for that, and now our elections for mayor and city council people no longer designate what party the candidate is associated with.
For one, I'm tempted to go back to partisan. Sometimes nonpartisan, you kind of go to the lowest common denominator. Well, everybody thinks that. You kind of forget what you stand for. And so I think it's worth considering.
I think something gets lost in that by taking away the partisan element. That does help guide people who are not as actively involved in city politics. On the other hand, city issues tend not to break along partisan lines as we traditionally understand them. The notions of conservative and liberal get kind of all messed up depending on issues. So I think it's working fine. I don't know that we need to change that at this point.
The last thing that the last commission suggested was neighborhood councils. And so neighborhood councils were formed throughout Missoula. The city of Missoula has a half-time staff person who staffs the neighborhood councils throughout the city. And the neighborhood councils receive notification of, for instance, land use changes suggested for their neighborhoods. And they bring people out for public hearings considering subdivisions or changes in zoning or different matters like that.
I think neighborhood councils, without going into a lot of detail right now, I think need to be revised. I think it was a terrific theory to foster greater communication both up as well as down from local government to the neighborhood level. I don't think it's been as effective as a lot of us would have hoped it had.
Good things about it and there's bad things about it. And if you look at the different formations of the councils, there's some councils that operate fairly well, and there's other councils that don't seem to really want to get started. And I don't know how you can't force people to meet and organize those things. They're pretty much voluntary. But where they are organized, they do work, and they do bring information from more people to the city council. The couple complaints I've heard is that when they do have elections, that the number of people that actually elect them is not really representative of the neighborhood council. Mm-hmm. If we've got 10,000 people in our wards, if we're lucky, we get 5,000 that vote. If you're really lucky at a neighborhood council, you might have 100 people there to select their leadership teams. So I think that's a problem, but they do bring information to us, and I think we need to let them work just a little bit longer.
The thing about neighborhood councils that I think would really improve them in their mission to advise city council people would be to make their boundaries coincide with ward boundaries. I'd like to see them as a venue for twice a month for a city council pair of people, sorry, Clayton, to sit down and actually talk with whoever in the neighborhood thinks it's worthwhile to sit down and talk about stuff. There is no other venue for a city council person to officially sit down with the neighborhood.
You know, everything really, a lot of good issues start with the grassroots campaign and neighborhood meetings and those things like that. It's a good starting point where people that aren't comfortable with it and don't feel like they're lost in the shuffle, it's a good place to go. Actually, you know, I deal a lot with not a lot, but I think it's a good idea, and I really like the approach to it. It's not a mandatory thing, but if you have something to say, you have a chance to show up, and they let you know far enough ahead and in advance of what's going on. And the north side especially, I live on the north side, it's really progressive from that standpoint. And the entire north side, and Bob Oakes has somebody that spearheads a lot of those issues. I feel really at home on the north side. And it's as far as neighborhoods go, it's a home. It really is, and I really like to see other parts of Missoula get that same kind of feeling about each other. That alone would bring, I think, a lot of people more into focus with government issues if they start caring more about their neighborhoods to begin with, and kind of expand from there.
At the end of our study, the Local Government Study Commission will make recommendations. Some of the recommendations that we could make would be to amend the existing plan of our government and charter. We could adopt any form of government that's already been authorized by the state. We could change our charter, choose to amend it. We could vote to disincorporate the city. We could also make no recommendation if the citizens believe the city's structure and function is working properly. In cooperation with the Missoula County Local Government Study Commission, we could recommend a city-county consolidation, something possibly similar to the Silver Bow Butte consolidation or the Anaconda Deer Lodge. We could also do something a little less and recommend service consolidation and transfer services between the city and the county.
Some people have suggested to us that we should consider electing more of our city council people at large, or that we might reduce the size of city council and have, for instance, just one council member per ward. So we're going to look at the makeup of city council.
We do have the largest council in the state. It's nice to have these smaller wards so that, the wards are a size that an individual can go go out and campaign door to door and still make a showing without a lot of money, which I think is good. I think I'd be interested in seeing a mix, kind of a hybrid of maybe 6 wards and 3 at-large or something like that, so that we got both ends of that spectrum. I mean, the problem with just having wards is that people tend to be very parochial, and the problem with having just at-large is that it's really difficult for a person who doesn't have a lot of resources to go out and win a race like that.
I think the wards should be kept as they are in size and redistributed maybe every time there's a shift in populations like they are now. I would keep the council the same size. I would offer a suggestion that I made to your predecessor group 10 years ago, a testimony at a public hearing, that half of the council be elected at large.
The last thing we'll look at in detail and that we've got plans for this summer is neighborhood councils. Do their roles need to be more carefully defined, and do their powers need to be strengthened? So we'll be bringing in some representatives of neighborhood councils from other cities as well, and that will happen in late July. What do you like about Missoula city government? This is a question we like to start our meetings with because you're always, it's always a good idea to think about what you like about any situation before you start thinking about the problems. But I always like to remind people that city government involves all kinds of different services: the police department, the fire department, the streets department. So many things that are critical to our lives take place with city government. So what do you like about Missoula city government? Our next question is, what problems have you encountered with services offered through city government? If we can understand what problems citizens are seeing with their government, perhaps we can talk about this, any kind of structural changes that might help us address those problems more efficiently. That is, are you getting your questions answered promptly, or what kind of problems are you experiencing? What do you think of the changes enacted as a result of the last study commission? Those changes were the city charter, which gave us self-governing powers, and remember that that meant that that the city government can now undertake anything that isn't denied them by state or federal law or state or federal constitution. The last study commission also enacted neighborhood councils and non-partisan elections for mayor and city council. What do you think of the changes enacted as a result of the last study commission? What do you not like about our current form of government? And this would speak specifically to having a mayor and a city council, because the study commission is not allowed to look at the judicial branch of government. So we're talking about the legislative branch, which is city council, and the executive branch, which is the mayor and chief administrative officer. The City Government Study Commission started working last November. We plan to continue this work throughout the summer of 2005 into the winter of 2005. By next spring, we should have a tentative report ready for the City of Missoula, and we will be reaching out to you with public hearings talking about what we're considering putting on the ballot before you. The report will cover basically everything we've found out about city government over those 12 months or 14 months of our study, and we'll also recommend to you perhaps changes in city government. Ultimately, a final report will come out, and the final report will turn into ballot measures, which have to be prepared if we want them on the November 2006 ballot by August 2006. So I want the people of Missoula to know that we're not sitting in a room with closed doors trying to make up our mind what your city government will look like. You are ultimately going to have to be involved in this process, and you will have to vote on what you want your city government to be. If you are unable to make meetings, we would like you to know that you can email us at lgsc@ci.missoula.edu. If you get onto the Missoula City website, you'll see that the Local Government Study Commission has a position right on the homepage, so you can click to our website. The website is www.ci.missoula.mt.us/LGSC. LGSC stands for Local Government Study Commission. So as you know, the City Government Study Commission has 7 members and is studying city government. We also have a 7-member commission that's studying the county government. So occasionally you might see this LGSC apply either to the City Government Study Commission or the County Government Study Commission. This LGSC is an acronym that you'll find in state law. We have been going out over the last few months to clubs and organizations and are certainly interested in visiting with as many of you as we can. We realize it's hard to come to public meetings, so if you belong to a club or an organization and you'd like us to come and visit with you, we'd be more than happy to do that. You can email us, or you can also call, and we have voicemail at the following phone number, 532-3244.
This study commission is very interested in talking to citizens throughout the city, both those who normally come to public hearings and voice their opinions and are active in city government, as well as people that just want to live their lives and trust that the city government is doing the right thing. So please contact us and let us know your opinions. And if you have suggestions on how do we reach people that aren't normally active in city government, we very much want to hear from you.
I think every citizen should be more involved in what the city does, because ultimately we're all responsible.